Right, well, the Nintendo Switch has been on sale now for just over 6 months, being released originally on the 3rd of March. And mine came through the door on that very day. I actually pre-ordered one, although I did and ah about cancelling the pre-order. I did stick with it and I did pre-order one. And ever since then, I've been intending to do a review of the product. And I've had quite a few problems trying to do that. I've sat down a few times to try and do it. And the problem I have is that basically almost on a daily basis, I change my view of the product. And I started to think about why that was. And one of the reasons is nothing to do with the product itself. And I think I need to be clear about that up front. And I need to extricate that from my ideas about the product. And what I'm talking about here is my views about Nintendo as a company. And I do think there are some issues with Nintendo as a company and the way it treats its customers, the way it treats reviewers, the way it treats YouTubers, with things like their Creation Club, where they say stuff like, join now and receive a part of the advertising proceeds for your Nintendo related YouTube videos. So you do all the bloody work and they make some money and you might get a little bit of money paid back to you. So I have some issues with that. And there's a bigger issue there as well in relation to the way in which people review Nintendo products. If you're showing Nintendo footage, you're kind of in their pocket. So these are issues I have with Nintendo. But obviously that's not what I want to talk about here. I want to talk about the product itself. So I need to kind of put those ideas in the back of my mind and talk about the hardware, the software, and the services that are available on the Switch itself. And there, again, I think we need to split the Switch into two distinct areas. Because I think the Switch, being that it's a hybrid console, isn't the same as other consoles out there. And I think you can look at the Switch as two separate beasts. The home console and the portable console. So first off, let's talk about it as a home console. If you look at it, there are two issues that arise straight away. If you compare it to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, it lacks power. A lot of the games that have come out on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One manage pretty much 1080p and then sometimes 60 frames per second. Often 1080p 30, but they do it quite well. And I actually think those consoles are underpowered as home consoles. And hence, we've seen the iterative upgrades. We've got the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X, which is coming later this year. Now, compare the Tegra X1 that's in the Switch, and it can't compare. Let's be honest. If you look at every single game that's come out for the Switch, they fared okay, but power for power, console for console, they cannot compete with the Xbox or the PlayStation. Currently, if you want the best version of a game, you buy the PlayStation. And in a month or so, if you want the best version of a game, you buy the Xbox version. So cross-platform games in terms of home hardware are not what you want to be playing on the Switch, not as a home console. And that's the important point here, not as a home console, because hardware-wise, it's not going to offer you the best way to play. Now, the other thing that comes into play here is something that I've gone on about several times, and that's to do with the lack of capacity. Again, as a home console, it simply can't compete. Both the Xbox One and the PlayStation Now are looking at 1TB drives as standard. And you get 2TB versions. Plus, you can plug in a USB hard drive into both of those consoles now and expand your storage considerably by terabytes. With the Switch, what's the best you can do? Well, at the moment, if you're looking at being cost effective, the best you can do is to get a 128 gig SD card. And it's nowhere near, is it? So there are some issues there with the storage as well. And this has come to light recently with NBA 2K18 needing to have an SD card installed just to play the game because the internal storage isn't enough. It simply isn't enough. And with some of the games that we're going to be getting down the line, that's going to become more of a problem. And I predicted this in one of my videos previously. And then subsequently, this last week, we've seen that both Wolfenstein and Doom are coming on the Switch. And I will tell you now, they are going to need an SD card. So in terms of the raw power there and the capacity as a home console, it simply can't compete. Moving on from that, and some of these things will come into play with portability as well. We've got things like there's no built-in voice chat. There's no achievements. There's no video capture, at least not yet. Not that that would be any use for people like me making YouTube videos, because you couldn't use it on YouTube anyway, because Nintendo would just claim the footage anyway. There's no virtual console. We still haven't seen the virtual console, even 6 months down the line. We've got no Netflix, no Amazon, no web browser. The subscription service that they're going to be offering doesn't launch until next year, which, well, frankly, is ridiculous. That should have launched with the platform. So as a home console, it's not very compelling, certainly not to me. If you then factor in software, well, again, as a home console, it's Nintendo, isn't it? So it's slightly different there, because if you're a Nintendo fan, then obviously you've got the first-party Nintendo products and you're not getting them on other consoles. So the Switch comes into its own a bit there with things like Zelda and Mario. And obviously with the Mario game coming out later in the year, then that's going to help push sales for the console. But in terms of software, well, actually, it looks pretty good, I have to say. You know, it's not too bad. And we're starting to get, as I've mentioned already with Doom and Wolfenstein, we're starting to get third-party AAAs showing on the system. Now, hardware-wise, obviously, as I've stated, there could be some issues there. And we already know with Snap Map not being on Doom that we're probably going to get some sort of cutting back for those games. And it looks like that's probably going to be the case for FIFA as well, that there's going to be cutting back for those games to be on the Switch. So what else? Well, if you're looking at the capabilities of the hardware in terms of what it can do in terms of user interface, the user interface on the Switch looks pretty good, but it's fairly basic, and it would be really, because there's not a lot on there. Basically, you turn the Switch on and you choose what game you're going to play, and that's it. There's nothing else to do on it. As I said, there's no Netflix, no Amazon, no web browser, so on and so forth. I could go on for the next 10 minutes about stuff like that isn't on there. In terms of the peripherals, they're not too bad. I mean, if you look at the Pro controller for the Switch, it's actually really nice. It sits nicely in the hand. The buttons are fairly reasonable in their placement. Yeah, it's comfortable to use. I actually enjoy using it. It hasn't got analog triggers, which I find a bizarre thing for Nintendo to have chosen. Why would they go with digital triggers when it would be just as easy to put analog triggers in there? It's not going to be a big issue for a lot of games, but it is going to be a big issue for some games, particularly things like racers. You know, arcade racers, not such a problem. But for sim racers, it will be an issue. And so I doubt we'll see very many sim racers come into the Switch. So the Pro controller's good, but the Joycons, not so good in my view. I don't like the placement of the thumbstick on the right-hand Joy-Con. I don't like the thumb pad on the left-hand Joy-Con. I find the placement of them is not very good. And if you go to Ben Heck, he is I don't know if you guys know, but Ben Heck does sort of projects whereby he mods consoles and does all sorts of tech stuff, which is really interesting to watch. So I recommend his channel. But he did a mod for the right Joy-Con on the Switch to move the right thumbstick, so it was in a more comfortable position, because when you actually hold the Switch in your hand and you're using, well, if you're using it both as portable or you're using it as a docked, the Joy-Cons docked into their Joy-Con holder thing. If you put it in there, then your thumb is in a ridiculous position. And so Ben Heck did a redesign where he added in a piece between the Joy-Con and the tablet section of the Switch and allowed you to have a much better thumb placement. But he did note while he was doing that he thought the thumbsticks on the Switch were the cheapest thumbsticks he'd ever seen on a console. And I'll put a link into his video about that. And it's interesting in itself, but the very fact that he states that they're very cheap suggests that there are issues, or that potentially could be issues, with the build quality of the Switch. While the Switch looks pretty nice and is pretty durable, and the screen on it is pretty durable as well, its build quality is not particularly great. And if you're talking about it as a home console, the worst element of that is the dock. The dock is pretty cheap and nasty in my view. I don't like it at all. Initially I thought it was okay, but the more I use it, the more I see of it, the more I don't like it. And I would have liked them to have made something that was a bit more premium feeling. But you pay your money and you take your choice. Other people might think differently to me on that. But if we're going to go and talk about the screen, let's move across to talking about the console as a portable. And the things I've said already about no built-in voice chat, still a problem when it's portable, could be even a bigger problem when it's portable, given the number of wires and things you have to attach to the Switch to make it be able to be usable with voice chat. No achievements, still not there. No video capture, no virtual console, no Netflix, Amazon, web browser, so on and so forth. They all apply to it as a portable as well. Obviously, that's not going to change. When you click the Switch Joy-Cons into the tablet, and can you hear this click in? It clicks in quite nicely, and you pick it up, and it does feel quite nice, with the caveats I've already given about the placement of the thumbstick and the pad, which isn't really a pad, it's 4 buttons. You can use it as a pad though. It actually feels quite nice in the hand when you use it as a portable. And I have to say, I do quite like it. The issues with the thumbstick aside, and the fact that I find the left bumper, if you will, the left bumper, I find that I keep inadvertently touching it. So when I was playing Zelda, I kept selecting the bomb or whatever I had selected as his special ability. And I kept bringing it up, which was a pain in the neck because I'd be in the middle of fighting something and I'd bring that up when I didn't want it because I'm trying to rest my hand on something and there's nowhere really for my index finger to go. Surprisingly, not so much on the right-hand side, but on the left-hand side, I found that was a problem. So with that on the left-hand side and the placement of the thumbstick on the right-hand side, I do find, especially when I'm sort of sitting down in bed, I find that I get quite tired quite quickly trying to hold on to it. So that's an issue for me. The kickstand on it, a lot of people have mentioned the kickstand, and I don't like the kickstand at all. I find it hard to get out, and then when I do get it out, it breaks off easily. It doesn't look like it's going to support the thing very well at all. I don't like that at all. The screen on it, well, I think the screen on it is perfectly good. I like the screen. It's quite vibrant. It's nice. It's good to look at. Games look great on it. And I think as a portable screen, I think it's great. I don't have a problem with it being plastic. A plastic screen is less likely to smash. It might get scratched, but you can always put a screen protector on it. So I think the screen's really good. The Joy-Cons themselves, like I say, I've already talked about that. The way they connect, though, I think is pretty good. There is a little bit of give in the Joy-Cons. A lot of people have talked about this, but I don't find this anything particularly bad about the way they connect. I think that's pretty good. So as a portable device, I think it's nice. And when I took it on holiday with me, I really enjoyed playing it. I really like it. It's not as portable as some portables. If you're talking about the PlayStation Vita or even the Nintendo DS, it's not as portable as those. You know, you're not going to fold it up like you can with the DS. But it does feel nice in the hand. And if you get a decent case for it, it's fairly easy to cart about. You wouldn't want to put it in your pocket. It's too big for that, really. But, you know, as a portable, I really think it comes into its own. I think that's really where it stands out. Playing AAA games on the Switch as a handheld has to be seen to be believed. It really is quite revelatory. It's an experience. I thought, yeah, right, okay. I wasn't convinced until I actually did it myself. And sitting there playing Zelda on the plane while we're travelling over to Spain earlier in the year, it was something else. And I actually had a couple of people comment on it. They were, looking at, oh, is that the Switch? So, it is good. It is good as a portable device. I find it is really enjoyable. Some of the games on it that have come out have been a disappointment. I found that Splatoon 2, and I predicted that Splatoon 2 was just going to be a port. And it was, really. It was a port. Because if it hadn't been a port, it would have had split screen. And so that's why it was a disappointment to me, because there's no split screen for playing it on the TV with your friends or with your kid or whoever it might be. But surprisingly, ARMS is the opposite. I actually only purchased ARMS this week, and I find that ARMS was a great game. Couch co-op, I was going to say. But if you're playing on the couch, you're playing split screen. I was playing my boy and he was kicking my ass at it, and that was fun. So I do think the ability to play the game split screen is nice with some games. I think Nintendo lends itself to being a console that you play with your family. And that's where it's a kind of catch-22 with this, because the one area that Nintendo always excelled was with the family games. And the problem is that actually this console, well, it's at its best as a portable. And so, again, we come back to it as a home console. Ultimately, for me, it's a bit of a failure as a home console. There's nothing about it that is compelling that would make me go out and buy the Switch as a home console above and beyond any of the other consoles. As a portable, yeah. But there is still a problem for me in as much as if I was given a choice, I had to choose, say, between getting Doom and Wolfenstein on the Switch or getting Doom and Wolfenstein on the Xbox One, or specifically the Xbox One X or the PS4 Pro, or even the PS4 or the Xbox One S. I'd choose it on the Xbox or the PlayStation, I'm sorry, but I would, because they're going to be the better versions of those games. If, however, I want to use those games out and about, the idea of being able to play Wolfenstein and Doom when I'm in a hotel room or on aircraft or even in the bog, for crying out loud, yeah, I do think it comes into its own. So I'm still, as you can probably hear in this review, that I'm still in two minds about the product. I think there's hardware issues with it. I think there's some serious glaring omissions in terms of what is available on the system, and we're not going to see some of that stuff until at the earliest next year. Having said all that, if you're in the market for a console and you do like to play on the go, especially with the announcements of the third-party games that we're going to be getting for the system later this year and into next year, you're going to find this odd. But I think it's worth considering. I really do. Having played Splatoon and been disappointed, and then played ARMS with my boy and had an absolute blast with it this last few days, I find myself warming to the console again. And I do think my experiences with it while I was travelling abroad earlier in the year have made me see the console slightly differently. This is going to be different for everybody, but I don't really consider the console as a home console anymore. I see it as a premium portable. And if you see it as a premium portable device and you assume, as I am now, that we're going to be getting more AAA games coming to the device, then yeah, I think looked at in that light, it is worth considering. I don't normally do this. I don't give things marks out of 10. But I think if I was going to go and give the Switch a mark out of 10, I'd have to do what I've been doing throughout this review and break it into two different consoles. I think as a home console, with the lack of services and its lack of power and the lack of storage, well, it's almost woeful as a home console when you compare it against the Xbox One and the PS4. However, if you look at it as a portable device, and then you bring it back and you say it's a portable device that you still can play at home, it becomes a different kind of package. And I think if you look at it in that way, then it is quite compelling. Doom on the go, Wolfenstein on the go, NBA 2K18 if you're into that sort of game on the go, FIFA on the go. And yeah, they will be slightly cut down versions of those games, but not significantly cut down like we've had with portable consoles in the past. This is on a whole nother level as a portable console. And if you think about it like that, then it's worth purchasing. If you think about it as a home console, then no. So as a home console, I'd have to say that out of 10, I don't know, I'd give it a 6, 5 or 6. It wouldn't get a good mark from me out of 10 as a home console. It's just not compelling enough, I'm sorry. And if you're talking about the third-party games, they're just not good enough on the Switch when you compare them against the other consoles. So if you're looking at it just as a home console, I'd give it a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, and say get an Xbox or a PlayStation. If you're looking at it as a portable console that you can sometimes play at home, then I'd give it an 8 or a 9. I think it's a wholly different beast. Here I am, still, right at the end of this. I've been going on for what? Getting on for 25 minutes, and I still can't make up my mind about this product. Can I say to people, go out and buy it? Well, no, I can't. Because I think it depends entirely on what you want it for. And you know, if you're a Nintendo fanboy, and you love Zelda, and you love Mario, and you love Kirby and all the other stuff, then yeah, you know, you'll already have bought the damn thing. But if you're in the market for a home console, get an Xbox or a PlayStation. Don't get this. If you want a portable and you like the idea of having some fantastic third-party games coming onto the console that you can take with you on the bus, go and buy the bloody thing. There's nothing else out there that can do this. So yeah, as I say in the title, it's a tale of two consoles. And they are utterly different experiences just because of what they offer in their respective areas. The Switch stands out as a portable. It really does. Nothing compares. It doesn't stand out at all as a home console. I'm sorry, I know people are going to disagree with me on that, but that's the way I feel about it. But whatever you think, let me know in the comments. We'll have a discussion about it as ever. And yeah, I'm going to go and grab myself a cup of tea and think about editing this. And I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.